Hello, fabulous Sonder family. Welcome to our Thursday night January monthly setup. This is that weird week between Christmas and New Year's where I'm never quite sure what day it is, what time is it, like what am I supposed to be doing? It's just that crazy time of year. So if you're with me there, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Maya, and I am coming to you from Denver, Colorado, where it was a little chilly but sunny this morning. We've had snow for the last few days, which was absolutely fine. But yeah, Jennifer's saying, does anyone really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Exactly, right? And with me tonight is the fabulous Jen O, coming to us from Texas, where there probably isn't any snow. She's going to give you a little wave. Hey there. She's going to be helping out in the chat if you have any questions. I know sometimes with these monthly setups, we get a lot of folks here. So the chat gets rolling really, really fast. So don't be afraid to ask a question or check in, or you can kind of hold it and freeze it and scroll back and forth. But if the chat stresses you out because it rolls by too fast, just close it up, and just ignore, right? And just focus on setting up our January 2024 planner, right? So I saw everybody was putting in the words, and it was really funny because somebody was putting in plug, but they didn't see the "un" in front of it. So that was kind of funny. It's always interesting to do the word search. It's interesting the things that you find. So just some tips and tricks here is, first of all, is anybody new? Is this your first social that you've joined us for, your first setup social? I see, Cassandra is saying me, Bianca. And now all the news start rolling in. Oh my gosh, they're going so fast. I see Mary and Jen, Megan, Nancy. Awesome. Love, love, love our first time folks. So, couple of things to keep in mind. Your chat, there's that little blue box. Make sure that it's set to everyone. If not, the only people that will see what you type in the chat will be myself and Jen. So, which is not a problem necessarily, but if you type something in there, just know that everyone might not see it if it's not set to everyone. Also, I saw some of our seasoned Silk and Sonder folks saying that one of the best things to do is to take screenshots or take a picture with your phone of some of the things in the chat or some of the things on the screen, because it does tend to go by kind of quick. And Megan, yes, a lot of times if you're on an iPad or an iPhone doing the calls, it will keep defaulting back to host and panelist. It's just an obnoxious thing with Zoom. So just if you forget, no worries. I'll try to remind you if you're posting to just Jen and I, or Jen will probably remind you as well. So let's see. The other thing, just to remind folks, is that this is a safe and supportive space, right? We are here to lift each other up. We are here to give each other ideas for how to use this, ideas for how to maybe have a more organized week, how to kind of jump into the next month, how to set things up. So just a few community guidelines to go over. First of all, be kind and courteous to both yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit some of those repetitive product and accessory questions. The best place to ask about pens and washi tape and stickers and all those kinds of things is in our app, which is the Sonder Club app. So hopefully everyone has that app. Again, if you're new, maybe you haven't downloaded that, strongly recommend that. That is a great place to go to get more support on a daily basis, hourly basis, right? It's a very fun and positive social media app. So yeah, Taylor's saying get the app, Maureen's saying use the app. Yeah, absolutely. Great place to go. And then if you have any customer care inquiries, so something with your subscription, something with your mailing address, those kinds of things, all of those inquiries go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Jen and I don't have access to any of your accounts. We can't look anything up. But hello@silkandsonder.com. Just give them sometimes a few days. They are a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of operation. So sometimes when you email them, you might not get as quick of a response as sometimes we like, but they will get back to you. So that's the best place to direct those customer care inquiries. And then ultimately remember that Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have a fantastic community here. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions, right? So if there's anything that is not jiving with you tonight, these monthly setups and the weekly setups that we do, usually there's not anything too emotionally draining. Sometimes with the monthly setup, there can be when we do some of the reflections on the past week, and we're going to reflect on the past year actually with tonight's. So if there's ever anything that you're not feeling in an activity we're doing, you're like, I'm just not into this, right? Please feel free to do something else. You can color, you can work on a different section of your journal, whatever works for you. This really is for you. So if you don't like the music that I play when we do the in between, when you're working on things, put it on mute. If you don't want to listen to me, you can put me on mute and just use the closed captioning to see what we're doing next, right? If you don't like the chat, you can close out the chat. If you want to focus on the chat and just take notes and then finish filling out your journal later, again, this is your time. You take what you need. You've carved out this time to be with us. And for monthly setups, we do have an hour and 15 minutes. So it is a little bit longer than most of our other socials, which are only an hour. This is an hour 15. So just know that. But if you need to leave in the middle, just know that these are recorded and posted. The chat will not be there, but things will be. But again, you do what you need to do. All right. So hopefully you have seen by now. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. If you don't have your January journal yet, that's okay. You can take notes and you can be ready to fill it out when it comes in. So hopefully you have seen that our theme for the month of January is ambition, right? Which is kind of an interesting theme. Some themes resonate with me immediately, some don't. This one hasn't quite yet, but I'm thinking on it, sitting with it, letting it marinate a little bit. So I did put the definition in there, which is ambition is a strong desire to do or to achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. The desire and determination to achieve success, right? And there's probably lots of other definitions or ways to think about it. And then I did throw some synonyms up there because just so you know, sometimes if a theme doesn't really resonate with you, that word doesn't really strike your fancy, use a different word, right? Again, this journal is for you. And I did think of, when I think of the word ambition, I do think of the 9 to 5, the 9 to 5 song by Dolly Parton, right? Where you pour yourself a cup of ambition, right? So I thought that was kind of fun. So maybe for you, the cup of ambition is your coffee, right? That gets you going. That ambition to succeed, that ambition to achieve something, to do something big or small that really takes that determination and hard work. So again, it might be different for you too as you go through the month, right? So yeah, Chris is saying a Dolly quote is always the right choice. Absolutely, right? So one thing I always want to recommend to folks, if you haven't yet, highly recommend that you read Meha, our founder's letter to us on page 2. This is kind of like her love letter to us, a little note to us to kind of talk about what she's thinking about with the theme and with the month of January. And so just to point out a couple things that spoke to me from her letter, I liked how she said New Year is a weird mix of emotions. And for her, there's a guilt, gratitude, and excitement, right? Such an interesting kind of mix. Yeah, and Sherry says the Hall of Fame song that I used in the opening reminds her of ambition. And I did try to use songs that made me think of ambition throughout the social, so you can tell me if you think I did that or not. Yeah, the definition page is not in here, which is why I made sure to put that up there, Brenda. The other thing that Meha says is indulge in dreaming and long-term planning, but keep in mind plans have permission to change. And I love that idea, right? We can dream, we can have plans, but know that those dreams, those plans have permission to change. We can change those as needed. Ambition is about unapologetic dreaming, having the confidence to follow through, but make sure that you know when to reset, recharge, and refill your cup, right? So hopefully these socials help you do that. And ambition looks different for all of us. So just know that whatever folks are saying about ambition, it might ring true to you and it might not, right? It might look very different for you, and that's absolutely fine. But be sure to celebrate success and learning along the way, right? So again, if you haven't had a chance to read this letter, highly recommend doing that so you can kind of see what Mayha is thinking for us as we dive into the month of January and the new year 2024. And I've just got to say, if you know me, how excited am I that the month starts on a Monday, right? Oh, makes me so happy. And there are 3 of those months in 2024, right? There was only one that was in 2023, but there's 3 in 2024. So I'm super excited about that. So here's our agenda. We're going to do a little opening activity. We are going to do some yearly reflections, right? Which we obviously don't always do. And then we're going to reflect on specifically on December. We're going to set our January intentions. We're going to work on our mood tracker, and we're going to work on our habit tracker, right? So we've got a lot of work to do tonight. So my 2 little cartoons that I always like to use to remind folks of a couple different things. First of all, there's room for you here just as you are, right? If there's good things have been happening, got a promotion, you got a raise, your kids are doing great in school, in a new relationship, all those kinds of things. We love to hear about your successes. We love to celebrate those with you. Conversely, we know that life is not always a series of ups, right? We get the downs. So sometimes folks may be struggling with some issues, right? They may not be, maybe they lost a job, or maybe they're in a toxic job. Maybe they're ending a relationship. Maybe they're ill. Maybe they have family members that are ill. That's okay. Share those too, right? We're here to support you. We're here. We want to hear the ups and the downs because we know that everybody's life is full of both of those. And the other one says, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. Nobody can tell you how you should feel about something. Nobody should tell you, oh, you shouldn't be mad about that, or, oh, that shouldn't upset you, right? They can't tell you that. That's just, our feelings are our feelings, and we're here to feel them all together. So let's dive in, shall we? So this first activity, it's not a page in your journal, so you can use a blank page. You can use scratch paper. You can use sticky notes, whatever you want. We haven't done an acrostic poem for a long time, so I thought it might be kind of fun to throw that in. So acrostic poem, right? So I'll show you an example, show you what that looks like here in a second. But what I want you to do is to think about what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the word ambition. Okay. Don't second guess yourself. Don't try to edit yourself. Just write things down. They can be words, they can be phrases, they can be, sentences, etc. Right. So try to come up with at least 8 words or phrases that you feel describe ambition. And now see how you can work it into a poem where the first letter of each line is a letter from the word ambition. So I'll show you. So this, you can draw this on your paper, right? Oh, Brenda, yeah. Were you thinking of doing that? Yep, acrostic all the way, right? They're always so fun. Yeah, so Taylor's going to use part of page 23. Again, you can use a blank page. You can use the scratch pad, kind of like whatever works for you. So set it up like this. And here's some examples that I found on the web so you can see some different things. These are all more sentencey. And I will tell you, I had to, because I do so enjoy using AI. I went into Bard, which is Google's form of AI, and I said, write an acrostic poem for the word ambition. And this is what it came up with, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I'll let you take a look at that. I'll let you again think of your words. You can share your words with us. You can share what your phrases are, or you can just focus on listening to the music, listening to what your mind tells you when you think of ambition. And we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. I am so impressed with everyone's ability to come up with some of these so quickly. Such a lovely mix of maybe just a set of words versus phrases versus, full sentences. I think it is lovely. And Liz, you did not do it wrong, right? Again, that's the other thing I always like to stress in here, right? We don't, very rarely is anything done incorrectly, right? There's never just one way to do things. And I love all of these different the phrases and words, and just amazing. So if you feel so inspired, I know that folks would love things in to see things in Sonder Club if you would like to post. And we do have two more monthly setups happening. So it could perhaps inspire someone who comes to another one of those. And you are always welcome to come to as many of these monthly setups as you would like. So love it. Thank you all so much, those of you who shared. I also really want to thank the folks who said, I don't really want to use ambition as the word for the month, but I'm going to go ahead and do and do the poem with that word just to kind of see how it goes. It's always good to just try something out, right? I love it. And hey, if you like acrostic poems, you can use these with really any word. So I'm so glad everyone did such a great job, and kind of working on sometimes things when we initially hear them, we have a little bit of resistance, right? That little like, I don't think I like that. But I love it when we're like, okay, I'm going to push through that. I'm going to move on through, right? And I'm gonna jump into it. So love it. So let's dive in to our fabulous, beautiful January monthly planner. So a couple things I wanted to point out, if you haven't noticed already, what's new, right? You may have noticed that the sleep tracker has changed, right? So now it's just the day and then the hours that you slept, the time you fell asleep, and how you feel. So a little simpler. And I know this is an area that sometimes folks like to repurpose. So if you repurpose this, please share so that we can share some of the repurposing later on. Hopefully you also noticed that the meal plan, they took away the breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack words, right? So it's just kind of an empty space, which I think works out so much better for some of the flexibility of way people like to use that. And then my absolute favorite is they made Saturday and Sunday the same length size as the rest of the days, and then they put the rosebud thorn reflection in kind of that nice vertical alignment as well. So I love that, because oftentimes Saturdays and Sundays are my busier day, right? Yeah, Carolyn's like, yay, Saturday, Sunday. So lots of fun things that they changed. Just, and keep in mind, they do listen to the feedback that folks give when they send emails to hello@Silk and Sonder. It can take a while because they do set up these journals. They get the templates and stuff done almost a year in advance. So they have through next December's done already. So sometimes they can make some changes, sometimes they can't. But yes, definitely love the changes. And if you're not a fan of the changes, that's okay, right? See how it works for you. You can always kind of try to see what maybe might happen as a result of kind of trying these changes. So love the changes. Always so fun. And so let's do our yearly reflection. And again, obviously we only do these at the end of December, beginning of January. So this is on page 3, right? And so it looks like this, right? So we're just listing all of the things that did not exist last year. So think back to 1 year ago. Where were you? Who were you? What were you doing? So what are all the things that you have achieved, big or small, people that you met, places that you went, and books that you read? Now, if any of those categories aren't your jam, maybe instead of books you read, maybe it's movies you watched, or instead of places you went, maybe it's restaurants you visited, right? So different kinds of things that you can kind of set this up. And just really quick to kind of show you, these are what some folks did last year and some suggestions of things to do. Look at your past journals. So if you've been with us for a while, you can pull those journals together, right? And kind of see what kinds of things you want to put in there. You can go through your camera roll on your phone. I am always amazed at how much we actually do in a year when I look back at the pictures that I've taken. And you can also look through your calendar, right? To kind of see, oh, Donna, that's a great things I made, right? So if you knit, if you crochet, if you do any sort of crafty project, if you write, Maybe it's things you wrote, those kinds of things. So I love the idea of folks doing some different things. So again, I'll play a little bit of music, let you work on this section, and then we'll check back in. Feel free to share in the chat if you would like. If you're just doing your jam, writing in your journal, and you're not going to post in the chat, no pressure, no worries. All right, so let's play a little bit of music and we'll check back in. All right. So hopefully you've thought of some things to put in those categories, or you thought of some different categories to put in there. Remember, we had the things I made, people who inspired me. I saw someone had posted. Maybe it's new music that I listened to, any of those kinds of things. It's just kind of a fun little place to recap the year, like a little time capsule of what you did in 2023, right? So restaurants I ate at. Oh, new animals. Oh, I love that. Oh, 7 guinea pigs, Cassandra. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of little squeakers. Um, so love spending time with that. And again, you can always go back and work on this later, right? If you want to add some things. So let's flip over now. We've kind of got that big picture of the year. So let's flip over to our December reflections. So at the end of every month, we always want to take a moment to look back here on page 8 and think about our wins, our challenges, our favorite moments, which often can be our wins, and then what are some things we want to start, stop, and continue as we move into the next month. So again, kind of looks like this, right? So those wins are something that you did, something that made you smile, something that made you happy, some sort of an accomplishment, some sort of maybe a goal attained, something, that again, positive. Challenges are something that didn't go right, something out of your control. Maybe it was a stumbling block, a frustration, something stressful. And then again, those favorite moments could be the wins or could just be something else, right? Some other favorite moments. Maybe it was going to a movie with a friend. Maybe it was having coffee with a friend, or maybe it was having some alone time. Any of those kinds of things, right? So you might want to look back at your rosebud thorns from the weekly spread from this last month to see if those help jog your memory. Again, you can also use your phone to review your calendar and maybe some photos from the last month to help you with these. So that start, stop, and continue, things that you want to start are things that aren't being done, but you want to start doing. things that maybe things you want to begin doing to get some better results, things worth trying or experimenting with to see what kind of results you got. Things you want to stop are things that maybe are not working, they're not helping, they're things that don't serve you anymore, they're impeding, they're not practical, they're not delivering desired results. You've tried them for a while, it's not a thing. Things you want to continue are things that are working well, things you want to keep, things to continue. You want to see if they're worthwhile. Maybe you're not quite sure yet, or maybe things that you like or need. So again, I'll play a little music, let you work on this. Feel free to share with us in the chat. Oh, I see Tammy shared that her December win was purchased a 12-month subscription to Silk and Sonder. Love it. So I'm hoping we'll see you in more socials throughout the year. So yeah, so just kind of think about these things, and then I'll play a little music once again, and we'll check back here in just a few moments. Oops, my music is... All right. So I loved seeing some of those wins, those favorite moments. Also, thank you for being vulnerable for some of you and share with us those challenges. And I think it's important to recognize that everyone faces some challenges every month, right? And I think that sometimes with social media and those kinds of things, if you think about, of course, people are showing the happy and the positive and the perfect and the fun and the up times, right? Nobody really shares a lot of stuff about the down times or the bumps in the road, or sometimes there are huge potholes in the road or those kinds of things, right? And so I think that's why it's so important. And I appreciate so much, not that you have to, but I do appreciate when folks share some of those challenges, because I think it really helps you, that kind of me too, right? Like I've had that issue too. I've had that struggle. I saw several people were paying off their student loans or getting close to paying off student loans. And I'm crossing my fingers. Mine should be very close to the loan forgiveness program. So I need to do some paperwork on that and hoping that gets done, because that the financial burden can be a lot on us, right? It can really weigh. So so happy for those of you who were able to get those done, and crossing my fingers that those of you who still have them will be able to have those done soon. So let's dive into the intentions. And this is one that sometimes some people struggle with, or maybe struggle isn't the right word, but they're just not quite sure how they want to approach it, what it looks like, um, how to go about this. So if you look at, there's 6 categories. And again, remember, you can change these categories up to fit your life. You're not stuck with these 6, right? You can certainly change them up as you need to. So we have spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. So one of the things, if you notice at the top of that on page 9, it says a new month, a new you, which I got to say, I'm not a huge fan of the new you idea, but I know some people really, that's their jam. So that's good, right? But it is a new month. We can start with some new intentions, right? So setting intentions is not making a to-do list. It's asking something of yourself and then giving yourself the strength to do it. So don't think about these as to-dos, right? Think about these more as to be's or ways you want to show up in these particular areas of your life. Yeah, and like Jen is saying, you don't have to have 6 intentions each month. Maybe you only want to embrace 4 of them that you want to focus on. Absolutely makes total sense, right? Yeah, and Tammy's saying the new you really resonates with me. So awesome, right? And again, right, we all kind of, that's the nice thing, we can kind of pick and choose and take what works for us and leave those things that don't work, right? So you can use the theme of ambition to set your intentions. So you can have the intention revolve around this idea of ambition. Maybe you want to focus on an area like self-love or self-talk. Maybe it's a name of a song or some lyrics from a song that are particularly inspiring. Maybe it's, again, how you want to feel this month in each area. Maybe you just want to use stickers or drawings or colors, those kinds of things. Maybe you want to do, say, here's one thing I want to let go of in this area, and here's one thing I want to start doing. So again, so it kind of looks like this. And I threw in a couple little fun pictures, right, with this idea of winter can be full of, right? Winter is full of growth, good news, unexpected blessings, progress, healing, love, new opportunities, and good energy. So kind of fun things to kind of think of. Winter can be full of these things, which I know sometimes that's tough because winter is dark, but it is getting lighter. I think we're up to like 8 extra seconds of daylight or something since the solstice. So that's exciting. And then I also like the lessons from winter, right? No dark day lasts forever. Choosing comfort is an act of love. Delicate things can be powerful. Life is filled with little pleasures. Resting is part of the growth process. Stay close to what warms your heart. Every season has its bright spots, and what's frozen will someday thaw. I thought those were nice little lessons to kind of take away. So maybe those are some things that you want to kind of put in for one of those areas for your intentions. Or we have lots of examples for you, right? Some people use stickers. Again, some people have used the monthly theme. The one up in the top right, the theme was passion or passionate. Maybe it's statements that will support the intentions. I will, I commit, I can, I intend, I am. Maybe you want to do that more or less for each category. So again, I liked the idea of spiritual health. They have more read and learn and practice, less worry, inaction, procrastination. So that's kind of a fun way to do it. Maybe it's just one word. So they have things like mindfulness, boundaries, nature, connection, declutter, fresh start. I don't think anybody repurposed these. I know some people will repurpose the professional goals. They've retired, and so they don't necessarily have professional goals. So they use that for learning goals, or you could use that for volunteer goals, something like that. Here's some other fun examples of things. Again, some people have used quotes, maybe just a simple statement, song titles, the intention and the action item, that little envelope looking one. I love that one. It's a fun little example. I like how the colored triangle at the top is kind of their intention, and then they have action items in the other 3 little areas. And I will cycle through these as we play the music for you to work on these. Oh, and yeah, so one person changed it to home and garden management instead of money management. They changed the professional goals to learnings, and they changed personal life to creative life. That's a fun way to change it up. Some people do drawings. Some people do more of like a scrapbook, print out some little things there. Yes, and these are all examples that we got from Sonder Club, right? So these are all real life real Sonder fam examples of ways that they've set up their monthly intentions. So I think, yeah. So I will kind of cycle through these so that you can see these ideas. Feel free to share in the chat. Oh, Mary, she has farm management. The goats and donkeys appreciate that. Absolutely. Feel free to share as much as you would like in the chat, and we'll check back in here in just a few moments. All right. So I saw lots of folks setting lots of really strong intentions in some of those areas. And again, if there's an area that's not really speaking to you, nothing's really coming to you, you can skip it for now, right? Something might pop up later. And if you're like me, things often pop up in the shower, right? Right. When you're in that space where you can't actually be multitasking and doing something else, your brain tends to let go and let you have a lot of different information just comes flowing out, right? So don't ever let the journal be like a source of stress or tension. Just kind of let yourself kind of flow, see what works. Maybe you won't think of something until, a week into January, and then something will come to you. So hopefully you've got some ideas for some of these different boxes, things working out here as we go along, and kind of see what works. Yeah. So let's see. So we've got all of those examples. And again, feel free to share any of those. These are all Silk and Sonder family who have shared these in Sonder clubs. So let's now dive into our trackers, right? We have two different trackers. We have a mood tracker and a habit tracker. So these are on page 10 and 11. So our first one is the mood tracker on page 10. So you might be saying, why do I have to track my moods? What good is that going to do, right? And I think one of the best things about this particular activity is that it helps us understand those trends and how we are feeling. Have you ever said, oh, I'm always anxious, I'm always mad, I'm always irritated, I'm always, right? We tend to gravitate to this idea, I'm always like this, I'm always like this, right? So actually tracking feelings, tracking moods for the month really can sometimes show you, oh, I'm actually not always like this, right? There were several days when I was feeling this mood or I was having this mood, right? And we can notice maybe what's also happening around that day. So some people will notice their mood and their energy levels look a little bit different, or they notice that their mood on days when they haven't eaten according to schedule, right, looks a little bit different. So it's easier sometimes to be able to look back and see this. Also, folks who are seeing therapists a lot of times say it's really helpful for them to be able to bring this in to the therapist, and they can kind of talk through, okay, well, so here's a patch of days where you were having, like some really negative moods or some really intense moods. What else was happening around then? What was going on? So again, it kind of gives you that evidence, right? As opposed to our mind, which doesn't always remember things exactly like we want. And then you can also bring in the tools, bring tools into what works when positive moods show up for us. And we did have a Sonder fan member one time say that her husband one time was saying something like, oh, you're always so negative. You're always in a bad mood or whatever. And she was like, no, I'm not. Look, I can show you my mood tracker. And here's a day when I was this. And here's a day when I was this. Right. So again, it's nice to kind of have this data in front of you. And so some people will say, like, do you track, is it every mood you feel in the day? You can do that. Is it how you feel in the morning? Is it how you feel in the evening? Again, kind of like whatever works. I feel like I go through a lot of moods in the day. So what I started doing was I have an alarm on my Fitbit at noon to take my noon supplements. And so I also just started recording my noon mood, right? So I kind of did a little habit stacking like James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. And so it was very interesting. So I could definitely kind of see what my mood was at noon for the month. And so it's definitely kind of an interesting way to think about that. So lots of different ways to set this up. Keep in mind, if you haven't set this up before, maybe go a little bit simpler, right, to begin with as you're tracking. And Jen is going to pop in a post about the mood tracker that also has the feelings wheel that I'll show you here in just a moment that you can use. Maybe you want to choose 2 or 3 negative feelings, a neutral feeling, 2 to 3 positive feelings. Maybe you want to focus on this idea of ambition for the month. Maybe you want to fill in every emotion that comes up that day, or maybe the strongest emotion. You can use stickers, colored pens, doodles, etc., to create that key up at the top. Excuse me. And here's the kind of feelings wheel. And this is what is in that link that Jennifer was putting in the chat that has this feelings wheel in it. And you can just Google feelings wheel or mood wheel, and you can find all different kinds of kinds of them, right? But it's kind of nice because I think sometimes we get stuck in just the basic, like love, joy, surprise, sadness, anger, fear. But you can see how many other words can kind of radiate from that, and help us to maybe kind of expand our categories and maybe get a little more specific, right? Maybe get a little more granular with some of those words. And I'll kind of, again, I'll cycle through some of these slides when I play the music for you to set this up. Maybe you want to repurpose it. Maybe you don't necessarily think you want to track moods, but maybe you want to track something like writing in the daily affirmation, or maybe it's anxiety levels, right? On a scale of 1 to 6, your level of anxiety. Maybe it's depression levels. Maybe it's energy levels. Maybe it's a scale of 1 to 6 on a specific emotion like angry, tired, joyous, those kinds of things. So this month is going to be the circle. Again, just so newbies know, we have some months that have the circle. Those are the months with 31 days. The months with fewer than 31 days have a little hexagon. So just know it does change up a little bit. So don't be alarmed if you see the hexagon show up, which you can kind of see up in this top example. See how there's like the little hexagon. So here's some examples of things that people have done. They've used stickers to kind of track that for the day. We had a person who kind of gave themselves lots of different words to think about, with each one of those main feelings. Again, stickers. Some people do an AM and a PM check-in, so they divide it in half, and this is how they feel in the morning. This is how they felt in the evening. One person tracked kindness, and I'm not sure if it was them showing kindness to these people or these people showing kindness to them, right? But either way, totally works. Kind of a fun way, thing to maybe track. People will track symptoms, so like blood glucose, migraines, those kinds of things. Some people will use it to track maybe the books that they're reading, workouts that they've done, rating for the day, activity trackers. Oops. So there's our examples for the mood tracker. So I'm going to play some music. I'll let you, and I'll leave this up for a little while. I'll cycle through the slides, and just like before, we'll check back in. Feel free, and I know some people are putting in the chat how they have it, how they use it, the moods that they track, or if they repurpose it. We love to hear different ways that people repurpose this. So give that a little whirl, and we'll check back in here in just a few moments. right. Well, thank you all for sharing the different moods, the different things you're going to use this tracker for. And I have to say, I saw, and at least one person I know, Sarah, had said, and I think some other people had mentioned that sometimes they start off the month really strong, like they set up their mood tracker and it's all beautiful and they keep, they maybe like the first 5 days or maybe even the first 10 days. And then they kind of it things get, life gets in the way, right? And I have to say, I am the exact same way. I honestly don't know if there's been a month where I've actually tracked every single day. I tend to forget as well, or kind of get uh, caught up in other things. So one of the things that you can do is when you do your weekly setup, you can remind yourself in those habits and activities to fill in your tracker, right? So fill in your mood tracker, or the one we're going to do next, the habit tracker. So, but don't ever feel bad. Regina's saying I missed about 95% of the December journal, and I'm okay with that, and just keep going. You don't even want to see my December journal. I mean, I did pretty good with the week. Well, there's a lot of blank spaces, let's just say. So, but that's okay, because we're going to get ready to start January and it's all good. And the journal should never, never, never be a source of stress, should never bring on anxiety, should not be one more thing to do. You have to stay up late to do, right? So just keep that in mind. And again, maybe you only want to track 2 moods. You want to see, is a good day or a bad day, right? And just go with that. So don't necessarily overcomplicate things. So let's flip over to our habit tracker on page 11, right? And this is another one where people can get a little, we can get too many things going, right? We get the new month intentions, and then it kind of stresses us out a little bit. So maybe when we want to start a new habit, right? You notice I didn't say 7 new habits. Maybe we want to stop doing a habit that isn't serving us, right? So maybe one of these things is stop doing X, right? And maybe we want to continue habits that bring us value. So again, if you've been with us, look back at last month. What did you have on the habits? Was there something that was really helpful? Bring it forward, right? These don't have to be 7 brand new things, right? They can be things the exact same from last month if those have been working for you. So maybe you want to use ambition as your focus. Maybe you want to pick a different theme like grounded, calm, joy, delight, something like that. Again, continue those habits from last month. Find a balance. Maybe have some habits you can do, and maybe ones that are going to be trickier to commit to. Please don't come up with 7 brand new habits that you're going to start in January. It's just going to stress you out. It's going to make you feel not good feelings if you can't get them done. And it's too hard, right? I mean, we're not geared to be able to do 7 brand new things, right? So if there's one thing that you are really good at doing and you've been good at doing, like for example, I always make my bed every morning. It's just a thing. I even do it when we're on vacation in a hotel. And so maybe you want to put that down as one of your habits, because that's a thing you can check off every single day, right? A nice, easy win. So here's some different examples of things that folks have done. Some people get very, very fancy and beautiful with their kind of making like a mandala kind of thing with the coloring. Some people just, will kind of write different things in. I do like to highlight or kind of draw lines around the weekend so that I can kind of see the weekend versus the weekdays, so I can see if maybe there's a difference. Oh, I'm glad I have some fellow bed makers. It's a nice sense of accomplishment, right? Here's some other examples of things, folks, that people have done. And I do want to emphasize too, people will ask, what's the difference between the monthly versus the weekly? So the monthly really is something that you want to track for every single day. That weekly is something you maybe only want to track a few times a week, or only track for a single week in the month. Keep in mind, if you're bringing habits forward, does that habit still serve you, or are you blindly following an old routine? Yep, it makes me very happy to make my bed. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something first thing in the morning. And then, yeah, Regina's saying it's the knowing that when you go to bed, it's made and ready for you. I do not like to get into an unmade bed, right? That is just not, it's so much nicer to have nice, tidy bed, right? So I also really liked from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, where he says, if you want to predict where you'll end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. right? So think of these as maybe something small. These aren't necessarily huge things to do, right? So, and again, that kind of mix of maybe one or two new things and then some things that are old. You do not have to fill in every single line, right? Um, Here's some easy self-care habits to bring into 2024. These were from our Silk and Sonder Instagram account. So if you're not following that account, highly recommend that you do that. So those are some kind of fun ideas. And again, I'll cycle through these as you work on them. Remember, it isn't bingo, and coverall isn't the only way to win. Excellent reminder for us. And then this person, I love that they giving myself grace and moving on because it's not worth the stress, right? There was a chunk of days they didn't do those things. They just kind of bloop, blacked it out. Not a big deal. And here's some other examples of habits if you want some other example. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's you have a song of the day. Maybe you're drinking your water. Maybe you're having less time sitting. Maybe you're getting up 15, maybe it's just 5 minutes earlier, going to bed 5 minutes earlier, different kinds of things that you can keep that you want to keep track of, right? And so again, remember, you can fill in all the lines. You can maybe only have one thing. Totally is up to you as you work through that. So I'm going to scroll through these slides so you can take a look, right? And I see some people are giving some good feedback in there. Trixie saying that the habit tracker made it clear that she wasn't being consistent enough with her cat's medication. So yes, very good information to have, right? I should probably do that at the time, figure out the time that we give our cat his medicine too, right? So work on that. Feel free to share with us as much or as little as you would like in the chat, and then we'll wrap things up here in just a few moments. Okay. Boy, this time always goes by so quick. I kept checking, right? Like this is the time we stop. It's been an hour and 15 minutes, but yes, it has. So we are going to wrap things up. Hopefully you've got some good ideas for your habit tracker, things that you want to track into January. Had our little list there. So please, 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 if you feel that you would like to, share your planner with us in Sonder Club. Again, that's where we got all of those examples from. So we love to be able to show folks. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, mine isn't as fancy. Maybe mine's kind of scribbly. Maybe my printing isn't that great. But I promise you, there are probably at least 100 other people who will be so excited that you shared it because it looks like theirs, right? So don't ever be afraid to share. So thank you all so much for being here with us. Jennifer is popping some links in the chat. The January socials are up, so you can sign in for those. We do have 2 more setups that are coming. One tomorrow, Jen's going to host that, and I'm going to be stage managing, I believe. So we'll see you there. And then I think Katie is going to do one on Saturday. So we do still have the Refer a Friend program going. If you refer a friend and they sign up with your link, you get $10. They get $10. We have the annual subscription where you can save money. I saw some folks in here saying they'd signed up for the annual. Yay. And then we do send out the feedback survey where you can give ideas of maybe what times or days or things that you would like to see in the socials. If you want them all to be longer, if you know, whatever kinds of things you would like. So thank you all for joining. I saw some folks asking about the music, so I will throw a link in the chat. It's just a playlist on Spotify. And I didn't use all the songs, but some of the songs might show up in my weekly setups because I was trying to find those fun songs that made me think of ambition. So thank you all so much for joining us. Have a fabulous rest of your week. Hope to see you again soon in one of our socials, and definitely hope to see you more in 2024. All right. Take care, everyone.